I've sold automation to people twice my age, and I've also scaled a sales agency to 139K a month. Here's one thing you need to understand so you can do the same. And I can assure you it's the opposite of what you think. Because in talking to hundreds of beginners, freelancers, and entrepreneurs in the AI and automation space, most think that they need to convince people to buy. But it's actually one of the biggest mistakes in sales. So let's get into it.
All right, here we go. We're going to talk about one main basic fundamental that you need to understand so you can actually sell automation. And once you understand this just one thing, everything is going to be super seamless, super smooth for you, and you'll actually begin to love selling. Because I'm assuming you're like me, and when I first got started, I hated selling. But once I understood this very, very simple basic fundamental, I started to love selling. And guess what? When you start to love selling, you start to make more money. And when you make more money, well, you can scale now and you can actually build a sustainable and profitable sales automation or automation agency. Okay. So the first thing we're going to talk about is selling is not convincing. Selling is persuading. See, you don't try to get people, and I'm saying people because businesses are ran by people, okay? You don't try to get people to buy your automation. What do? Well, you create an environment that makes them, I'm going to make this purple, in all caps, feel like buying. Like buying. Okay? See, most beginners, freelancers, and entrepreneurs that I talk to every single day are trying to get people to buy. They're trying to convince them to buy. They try to talk them into buying their automation, their workflow, whatever automation they're trying to sell. And that's the wrong way to do it. So I'm going to give you a couple of definitions before I go into details, okay? Say it with me. Selling is not convincing. Selling is persuading. Let me say it one more time. Selling is not convincing. Selling is persuading. Okay? Now, I really want you to pay attention to this. So grab a pen and paper, and I want you to listen to this and pay attention. Okay? Convincing is when I attempt or try to get somebody to do something for me for my own reasons. Persuading is when I guide somebody to make a decision they want to do deep in their hearts for their own reasons. Not only they're not the same, they're inherently and fundamentally different. Okay? Some people are going to be like, oh, I'm a great salesman. I'm a hard closer. Well, you are a hard closer because you don't know how to sell. I know, but this is just the cold, hard truth. Because once you understand this main basic fundamental, it will change your life for the rest of your life, and you'll actually begin selling automation, and you will sell your automation for higher price. That way you will build a sustainable and scalable automation agency. Okay? So now since we know that selling is not convincing, they're not only not the same, but inherently different, well, the person that we need to be focusing on when we're trying to sell automation is them, the decision maker, the founder, whatever, the CEO that's going to be on a sales call with you that is listening to your pitch when you're trying to sell your automation. We need to focus on him or her, whatever, on them, okay? Not us. Think about it. Do you like it when someone or somebody tries to get you to do something you don't like to do? No, you don't, right? And I believe this is like one of the main reasons why people don't like selling. People hate selling because the only sales experience that you remember are the bad ones. What does that mean? Well, remember when somebody did a horrible job showing you this thing that they're attempting to get you to buy and showing you all the value that you're going to get, etc. And they're trying to pressure you into buying it. And it feels like, like yuck, like that's gross. Nobody wants that, right? And that decision maker that is in the call with you, or you're trying to pressure into selling your automation, is literally feeling grossed out, and they have this icky feeling. So remember that, okay? But real good sales experiences, you don't remember them. They're seamless. They're effortless. It's kind of like you were under the sales anesthesia, right? So when I began to understand this on a higher level, and I understood that selling is not convincing, which is basically the main thing that you should understand in order for you to sell automation. That's literally it. It's about creating an environment that makes that decision maker feel like buying that automation or that sales system or workflow, whatever na10make.com workflow that you're trying to sell, okay? Which means people do what they do because they feel like it. Well, now you might be saying, well, they want to buy because they want it. Well, they want it because they feel like it. They feel like wanting it. And the reason they want it because they feel like it. So once you understand that everything in sales goes back into feeling, the feeling is what makes them feel like buying. Let me give you an example. So I bought a Cartier. Now, I do not need a Cartier, right? I do not need it. I simply bought it because I felt like it, okay? Like nobody pressured me into buying a Cartier. It's not the best financial decision, but when I entered that store, the environment that they created evoked a feeling that made me want, that made me feel like buying this watch. Now let's apply this to selling automation because it's the same thing. When somebody is good at selling automation, they make you feel like buying it. They think they bought it because it was their idea. So I want you to really, really like wrap your mind about it because once you understand this on a higher level, you will actually begin to love selling and selling automation. You're going to make more sales. And once you make more sales, well, you're going to make more money. And once you make more money, you'll have a successful sales automation or automation agency. And this is essentially what I've done. This is exactly what I've done. Okay. This is how I've managed to crush my entire competition. Many people that I was, that were in my group, they stayed as a glorified freelancer and I basically just scaled, okay? So you don't remember when somebody knocked on your door and said, hey, would you like to buy this iPhone? No, they didn't because it never happened, okay? What they did is they created an environment that made you feel like buying that iPhone. And you were like, oh, it's only $1,500. I won't. Like, they made the iPhone look cool. So you were like, yeah, it's only $1,500. So I'm just going to buy it. That phone looks so cool. So once you learn that once you create an emotion and you evoke an emotion inside that decision maker that is on a call or whatever, right? That is interested in buying or working with you as an automation agency or like a sales systems agency. Once you learn how to do that and get them to have that good feeling about working with you and buying from you, selling becomes effortless. And I'm going to show you more quickly than I have ever shown in my entire life how to evoke and create feelings into these decision makers that are twice your age, because I sold automation, I sold sales systems, and I sold intros, right? Decision makers that were twice my age, okay? So I'm going to ask you a question, okay? Why do you think when you look at a painting, right, there's a frame, right? Why do you think people invented frames that we put around those paintings, all right? So imagine this is a painting, okay? Now, around that painting, there's a frame, okay? Now, let's imagine this is just a painting. These are basically mountains. These are birds, okay? And there's like the sun here, for example. And there's like a tree here. Okay, there's a tree. Okay, now why do you think people put frames here? This is a frame. This is the frame of that painting. Well, simply so you can focus on the image and the painting inside. Okay, the reason why we put a frame around the picture or the painting is so we can focus on the actual image and or the painting. Okay, now let's apply this to selling automation. Okay, imagine this is your prospect. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit so you can see. This is your prospect, and this is their eyes, and this is the automation that you're trying to sell. Okay, now your job is to put a frame on that automation so they can focus. Now, when these decision makers focus on your automation, right, they either focus on the positive aspect of it or the negative aspect of it. Okay? So when they focus on the positive aspect of your automation, well, now they feel good. And when they focus on the negative aspect of your automation, well, guess what? They feel bad, even unintentionally, okay? And they feel bad. Now, this positive aspect or negative aspect creates something called a belief or doubt, okay? So when they are feeling good, it creates something called belief. And when they are feeling bad, it creates doubt. It's a belief in an undesirable outcome, okay? Now, belief leads to anticipation. And doubt, well, you guessed it, leads to anxiety. See how this now makes sense, right? Now you're sitting there, you're like, oh, it makes sense, right? So, well, let's do this from the beginning. Positive impact leads to feeling good and leads to belief. Belief leads to anticipation, and anticipation leads to, let's make this purple, leads to power. Okay? And what is the power? Well, it's the reason I made feel in all caps and in purple. See? Now, what is power? Well, the power is basically them having that power to actually buy from you and actually work with you as an agency. Whatever sales automation or workflow you're trying to sell them. Now they have the power. They feel powerful. And once someone is powerful, well, you can't tell them what to do because they want to do it. Okay. Now they feel good about it. Okay. Now, the negative aspect, which is negative aspect, leads to a feeling, make this bad feeling, leads to doubt, and doubt leads to anxiety, and anxiety, we're just going to leave this red, leads to powerlessness. Okay? Now, powerlessness is basically them unable to buy, even if they want to, right? They cannot buy, okay? Because anxiety is the worst feeling that a human can actually experience. It's worse than pain because when you are in pain, you're feeling that pain, right? You're sitting in that pain. But when you're anxious, you don't know what the pain is going to be like in the future, right? There's a quote, and I want you guys to take this with a grain of salt. It's better to go with the devil that you understand than going with the devil that you don't understand. Because at least you understand the first devil, okay? Now, like I said, just take this with a grain of salt, okay? Don't go with any devil, okay? Well, how do we make decision makers feel good, or decision makers in these businesses feel good? Well, one, okay, is we never talk about the features, okay? We never talk about how great we are, how great our sales automation or sales systems or automation or workflow that we're trying to sell to them. We never explain the process in the back end. We never talk about how we are great and how much time and energy we put into this automation, okay? We don't talk about features. We don't talk about, well, it uses AI to pull leads from Airtable, and Airtable no, we never talk about this. We talk about the payoff that they're going to get when they implement your solution, okay? And the payoff is going to be the outcome, okay? And the outcome, guess what is, well, it's obviously going to be the same thing every single time, which is, let me like break your paradigm. It's always going to be more money. Most of the time, okay? It's not even saving them more time, okay? Because more money and more revenue into their business just snowballs into everything else, okay? With more revenue, you can fix bullshit easily. You can hire more people. That way you can scale. So everything comes back to revenue, okay? So your automation saving them time. Yes, it can work. I would say 99% of the time, just frame it in a revenue generating angle, okay? Because I mean, you can say that, okay, your automation is going to save them time. That way they can put more time and energy into the high leverage tasks such as closing deals. Okay. So now that you understand what selling is essentially, and that you need to evoke a feeling into your prospect, that way they can buy your automation or essentially just work with your agency, right? The only thing you have to do now is put in the reps, obviously, right? Because you need to put in the reps. It's just non-negotiable. And you need to get out there, take action. I believe in you, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.